Before I begin, I'd like to just apologize for my voice. It is my great pleasure and honor to introduce Christine Haida, a fellow Midwesterner. It's always nice to be around other Midwesterners. She is from Chicago, both by choice and by chance. She's a mother of Julian, Zachary, Elias, and Dignity, and values being with her children, traveling with her children, creating opportunities to see beauty and diversity within the country, and being with her children. She has a master's degree in organizational development from Loyola University in Chicago, and is currently working on a master's degree exploring the identity crisis of women who have experienced events that have reshaped their identity and role in their community. Christine specializes in consulting course development and workshop facilitation with financial and educational institutions and faith-based communities. Part of her work in the Ukrainian Church Catholic community has included chairing eparchial conferences, serving as the General Secretary for the Encounter of Eastern Churches, and facilitating retreats for eparchial clergy and parish councils. The Haida family are members of St. Joseph the Betrothed Parish in Chicago, where her husband was the pastor, and where she still sings in the choir. She is the assistant director and visiting faculty. She is an assistant director and visiting faculty at DePaul University for New Learning.
Because I want to make sure that I got things into the ground and planted so that they could take root. And once all was said and done, and the plants were firmly in the ground, I watered and watered and nurtured until I knew that the plants were well established. By the time Memorial Day came around, and summer had unofficially began with a barbecue, I could sit back and reap the rewards of my work. I could watch the flowers grow and bloom, the tomatoes sprout, the cucumber vines shoot up the fence, all with just a little bit of maintenance and watering. But alas, by the end of summer, I was not always left with what I had started. Sometimes we would leave for a week or two during the hot summer months, only to come back and find the tomato vines had dried up, the cucumber shoots had shriveled, and the flowers had wilted. True disappointment. Not by choice, but I had neglected my garden. So pretty, and much hope, yet little joy. But with time, and age, and experience, I wised up. And I realized that although perennial plants were more expensive at the onset, once planted and established, they need very little attention and nurturing in order to bring years of beauty and counsel. They come back year after year, are sometimes shrouded by overgrown shrubs or bush, and can look relatively pathetic, yet they are steadfast. And with a bit of attention, clearing of the overbrush, they are at the forefront again. They are there for me to appreciate. And now I can leave on vacation for a week or two, and they will be there when I come back. I can not tend to them, and only let the rain water them, and perhaps not even notice them again after they have bloomed. But they are there. They remain loyal, and unless I do something egregious to them, such as uproot them completely, and even some of those continue to come back, or poison them, I know that I will be surrounded by this brilliance for many, many years to come. Likely, well into the fall, and perhaps even until the frost. They bear fruit when I am hungry, flowers when my table is bare, and envelop me in the shade during the hottest days of summer. I hear their leaves rustle in the breeze, see their blades glisten at dawn, and smell them at dusk. I now have a summer garden, that I still tend to, which was created over time with patience, care, and love. It will be there for as long as I am living in my home, and knowing this provides me comfort and solace. So how does a woman hear God's voice in this busy and hectic world? There are two answers to this question. The first answer is that sometimes she just does not. Sometimes she is just so engrossed in the daily temporal monotony that she doesn't pay attention. Years may pass, and she may be completely unconscious of the fact that she has not heard God. It might not be until an illness arises or tragedy befalls when she recognizes that while she was on summer vacation, albeit only for a short week or two, her delicate annual summer garden has withered away. Short-term effort, short-term payoff. At this point, she has two choices. She can either try to replant or throw her hands up and walk away with the hopes that summer rain brings them back to life. And if not, so be it. If she chooses to replant, there's the potential of creating a garden that can last in eternity. A garden where the voice of God is heard during all weather and all seasons of her life. One that lasts through drought, frost, heat, and a bit of neglect, but one that will be there. The second answer is a bit more complex and requires deliberate effort. The way a woman hears God's voice in this busy and hectic world is by creating a garden of both seasonal, passing annuals, and the long-lasting perennial plants that she bestrews at the beginning of the summer planting season. It is in seeing the face of God in every human being that she encounters, and in every relationship that she nurtures. It is in clothing those who are naked, tending to the sick and those who are infirmed, welcoming strangers, feeding those who are hungry, sharing in someone's joy, and consoling those who mourn. How many opportunities have we had to do this and have passed them up? Who are these people? Who are these annual and perennial plants in this analogous example that I give you? The annual plants I consider to be those whom I encounter for a very short time. Those to whom I give $1, my gloves, a hot cup of coffee that I just bought at Starbucks for $3. Those whom I encounter for only a brief period of time and for whom I can provide respite. Those whom I will likely never see again and only come in the summer season of my life for a very brief time. They are not my blood relations, close friends, or colleagues. And in a large city like Chicago and Philadelphia, they are generally easy to come by, but not always easy to provide for. And I'll share an example with you a bit later. The perennial plants that I think about in terms of relationships are those which we establish for the long haul. These are relationships with our parents, siblings, spouses, children, aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews, and friends. These are people whose needs we tend to without doubt, or second thought, or even consideration for any sacrifice that we may be making in our efforts. When we clean up after them when they are sick, it's without squeamish. When we make breakfast, lunch, or dinner for them, it's with prosaic acceptance, not resentment. We lend money, give clothes, pick up children from school, take to the doctor, all without asking why, or wondering if we will ever be paid in turn. This is one major lesson that I learned early in the summer, my summer season, and that is, that which I reap is that which I have sown. If I do not become a role model for my children, I will become just like them. And here's a brief example of an attempt to try to set an example. One Saturday, my boys and I were driving home from Ukrainian Saturday school and decided to stop at the local hot dog stand to get some food to go. Not knowing if my mother and uncle were at our house with the twins, we decided to purchase a few extra hot dogs just in case they were there and they were hungry. So with a bag full of steaming food on my son's lap, we stopped at an intersection at a red light, when we were approached by a scruffy and dirty-looking man with a handwritten cardboard sign that said, "I am hungry, please help." I told my son to open his window, wave the man over to the car, and offer him a hot dog. The man came, my son taking the food out of the bag, and his innocent voice said, "Would you like a hot dog?" The man looked at my son and barked a harsh no and walked away. My son was stunned. "Mama," he said, "if he's hungry, why didn't he take the food?" A bit speechless myself, I told him that the man was likely not as hungry as he may have said that he was. The reality of it is that he probably wanted money for something other than food. So here I was, wanting to set an example to my children of what we were called to do and how to hear and get closer to God, and was dissed. Nevertheless, we try not to give up, for we never know when our genuine good deeds will be needed, and more importantly, when they will be noticed. To hear God in her hectic world, she needs to garden. She needs to plant annuals and perennials so that she will have a life that is eternal. She needs to foster individual relationships with people so that she can have an individual relationship with God. We need the stability and the post-winter predictability of the perennials, those that we anticipate and crave after a long, dark winter, and the annual plants which offer us the unexpected, ever-changing beauty that our garden needs for variety. We are called by God, by name, in baptism and in every encounter with every human being that we have. There are no group discounts for getting into heaven, only personal invitations. And by virtue of God sending us his Son, he invited us to have a connection with him that was not one of idol worship, but one where there is an intimate connectedness. Like the shepherd, Christ calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought them out, all his own, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. Through these relationships, we relate to God in the summer season of our life. Through our love for one another, we feel God's presence and we hear his voice. What we can expect from him is only that which we can expect of ourselves and in that which we share with one another. One parting thought that I'm going to share with you, and that is, it is not too late to plant. It is not too late to engage in a spiritual practice which will help you recognize that God is present. Simple prayer is the beginning. It's the seedling. Moving on to doing a deed or two along with prayer may be the next step, the fertilization. And repeating this turns to nurturing. You can be any age, in any season to do so. And I encourage every woman present today to begin this journey of preparation for her eternal season in heaven.